Guess who's back? Yes, back again, the well-meaning cis hets. Hey Spuds, it's Jamie, welcome back to another video. First video on the channel, I don't know, but welcome either way. I'm very glad to have you here. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. And today, we are again looking into an Instagram page called Well-Meaning Cis Hets. This is when cis straight people say things to LGBT plus people. Today, I think it's mostly trans people. You know, they're not trying to be assholes. They're really trying to be nice, but it doesn't always come across in the right way. The message is very much lost in translation, or it's like, sure, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, and sometimes maybe they're not quite so well-meaning. But yeah, we're just gonna have a look at this. It's just stock images with bits of text that reflect things that cis-het people have said to non-cis-het people. And I know you're gonna get super fed up with me mentioning it, but I'm very excited that I wrote a book. So I just want to say my book, The T in LGBT, is out at the end of June and it's available for pre-order right now. And if you do want to go check it out, there's a link in the description box. And that's all I'm gonna say on it today. Let's get on with the meaning cis-het, the well-meaning cis-het, the cis-hets that mean kind of well sometimes. You don't have to take everything so seriously the whole time. Thank you. I will start laughing about my identity and finding transphobia funny. I've heard this one quite a few times and it's like, oh, it's just a joke. Oh, you don't have to be offended by this. Oh, don't take yourself so seriously. Don't take what I just said so seriously. And it's like, no, I'm calling out something that's not right. I have been disrespected in some way. A shitty joke has been said, and the way that we learn and progress as a society is by calling out things that are hurtful, even if they are not intended to be hurtful. And that's not just like, oh, stop being so serious all the time, just let things go. There's a difference. I feel like this is often said in like a defensive response from somebody who's not actually, they're not an asshole, they're not a bigot. They've maybe said something or said a joke that they thought was okay and have been called out for it, and they're like, oh, stop being so serious about it all. And it's this defensive response of like, oh, I f***ed up. Not sure it's very professional. Your identity, just who you are, not professional, no, not suitable for the office environment, go home. What does that even mean? Oh, I'm sorry, Karen, that my transness is not professional enough for you. Or what, like, expression of identity is not professional enough? Ugh, I'm so glad I don't have to wear a suit. It's a bit controversial. You're controversial. We don't know how to deal with that. It very much feels like, oh, but it's hard for us too, about, you know, when somebody comes out as trans. And it's like, yes, it's not the most common thing in the world. Yes, it can be controversial to some people. It shouldn't be controversial, but unfortunately, it can still be controversial. Why are you so worried about it? I don't know, just like, you're not the trans one, you're not the LGBT plus one, you're not the one living the life of being seen as controversial, just like, let it go. He's just like one of the girls. Really? Really? He's just like one of the girls. I feel like this was such a trope said about gay men when I was growing up. I just remember this being said so much about like groups of girls in high school and stuff wanting a gay BFF and like seeing him as just one of the girls. I'm sure some people are fine with that, but it's like a bit of an odd statement to say unless you are very close with somebody and you know that's how they talk about themselves and that's what they're comfortable with, because you're still talking about someone who's a guy. Why can't you just be a feminine man? Why? And then, you know, to go alongside this, why can't you just be a masculine woman? This is such a common thing that I've heard as a trans person. It's like, why did you have to transition? Why couldn't you just live as a masculine woman? Why couldn't you just live as a lesbian? And it's making the assumption that all trans men are masculine and attracted to women and all trans women are feminine and attracted to men, whereas that's not the case. And even if it were the case, being a man who is trans does not impact the fact that I am still a man, therefore I'm not a masculine woman. But then going back to the point of like, not all trans people are gender conforming and straight, it's a bit of a weird thing. It's like, I've had people say to me like, why couldn't you just be a masculine woman and a lesbian? And it's like, well, one, I'm not solely attracted to women, so being a lesbian would be difficult. Two, I'm a man, so again, being a masculine woman and a lesbian would be difficult. And three, like, I'm not always super masculine. Like, why are we bringing up expression to do with my identity? And anyway, just... no, it was such a common thing. I heard this so many times. I'm having memories right now. Despite what it may appear, I do respect you. I've also had this in a lot of comments, and I've seen it happen loads, where it's like, transphobic paragraph, oh, but like, I totally respect you. But you just said all this really disrespectful bullshit. I just reacted to a transphobic video thing, and it was like transphobic tropes wrapped in this like gently presented pseudo-scientifical logical package to make it seem nice, and then rounded off at the end with like, we should respect people and like show them kindness. And my response was like, but doing this kind of thing isn't respectful and kind, and you can't just be disrespectful and then say, oh, but I respect you. Just because you say it doesn't mean you've done it. Despite what it may appear, you probably don't respect me if you have to say this. What appearance is happening of disrespect, I wonder? Oh, I'm such a fan of you guys. I don't hate this one. I feel like it's just quite like an old language way of being like, I support you. I love this group of people in society, and I have love and support and respect for you, but it's just said clunkily. I don't personally have a problem with it. I suppose it goes with the territory, doesn't it? What? I think I need more with this one. What goes with the territory? That picture with it is like, oh, I'm sure you're so used to this. It's like, oh, I'm sure bigotry just goes with being LGBT plus. You must be so used to it, and it's fine. Wouldn't it be better to try and be confident with the body you already have? No. I wonder if people who say this to trans people would say it to anybody having some form of surgery that will alter their body in some way. Literally anything. I'll just be confident with your body. You need a root canal, just be confident with the pain and confident with the rotting tooth. Yeah, confident. Carry it off. It's not a confidence thing. Like, transitioning has grown my confidence, but it's I want to tackle this gender dysphoria I have, and the way to tackle gender dysphoria is to transition. And that's what it was for me. It was like, I need these surgeries. I need this hormone. I need to live in this way because I am dysphoric, and being dysphoric over my gender is really, really shit. And here is the way that I can be not dysphoric, or at least less dysphoric. So obviously I'm gonna do that. So it's not a case of just being like, oh, let me just try and love myself. No. I respect your choice to be gay. Also insert your choice to be bi, your choice to be pan, your choice to be trans, any other non-cis straight identity. Whenever somebody says this, I'm like, no, you don't. I'm very cynical of this kind of comment, and I'm like, do you really? Because basic 101 of respecting and understanding LGBT plus identities is just realizing it's not a choice, and you've clearly not grasped that. And I understand if you've never heard of it before, never met somebody who's LGBT plus before, never anything, and you've been told it is a choice, and you're like, I don't listen to my family who is bigoted and I respect your choice. That's like the one exception. But as soon as it's like, oh, well, it's not a choice, and they're like, well, it is, but I still respect it, it's okay, then it's like, okay, no. You have been told this is not a choice. And I feel like a lot of people, where this comes from, is they just will not accept that it isn't a choice, but they don't want to seem bigoted. So they're like, well, I respect that you've chosen this lifestyle. That's the next sentence. Ugh, I'm sick of boys, I'm gonna turn lesbian. Okay. I heard this a lot growing up. It used to be such a line in films where people were like, ugh, I'm just gonna go gay because I'm sick of men. Or straight women talking to like a gay woman BFF and saying like, oh, you're so lucky you don't have to deal with men. Like, I'm gonna be like you. It's not meant with any harm, but I think it feeds into the whole like choice thing. Even though it's a joke, it is this like, oh, well, you know, I'm sick of this, so I'm gonna choose to do this other thing that clearly actually isn't a choice. You should correct me when I do that. How do I feel about this one? On one hand, I appreciate somebody being open to correction. I guess if it was part of a bigger conversation, it's like, yeah, look, I'm gonna f up. I need to get used to this. Feel free to correct me whenever you need to, like, but I'm doing my best and I hope you won't have to correct me. But if it is almost like a scolding, like a, well, you should correct me. If it's a putting responsibility on the LGBT plus person to constantly be educating and reminding you to do better, that's a bit iffy. Because like, take pronouns, for example. They do take a while. You will make mistakes, but it's up to you to reframe in your mind and being like, okay, this person, I now only use he, him pronouns when referring to him. And that's it. You will still make mistakes, but it is up to you to reframe that in your mind. And yes, trans people will probably correct you, but I don't know how much I would have appreciated somebody to just be like, you should correct me when I do that, as if it's my fault for not correcting them. But maybe I'm reading too much into it. I think this could also be interpreted as like a caring way of being like, I really don't want to make mistakes, so please help me. Isn't that the point of being trans? Isn't what the point of being trans? What is the point of being, I don't know. What's the point of being trans? Why am I trans? There is no point. It's just who I am. But why do you have to make such a big deal about it though? Normally said by the person making such a big deal about it to the person who hasn't really been making such a big deal about it, but just wants basic respect. Stop making such a big deal out of it. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I forget we're living in such modern times. I'm sorry, I don't know what that laugh was. It just felt right for the sentence. I could imagine it following that sentence, like, oh, times have changed so much and I'm so struggling to keep up all this modern fuddy-duddy bullshit. What do? I just keep forgetting that I need to not be a bigot. Honestly, like, yes, we're living in more modern times, obviously, because it's today. The present day is the most modern that we have been. But at the same time, LGBT plus identities and different things have been around for a long time. And then certainly in some cultures, it's been hugely repressed for many years. So we're not living in an era where like there are suddenly LGBT plus people. We're living in an era where it's like, oh, yeah, we should actually respect people. We're still struggling on that front. You can't be neither. You've got to be something. Well, what if I said you can't be something, you've got to be neither? That makes just as much sense as what you said, so no. Back when I was young, you could find a girl pretty without being a lesbian. I'm pretty sure you can still do that now, but maybe if you are actually finding women attractive and not just in a, oh, I can appreciate this person is attractive, but I don't find them attractive to me. If you are finding them attractive to you, then maybe that is saying something. You can still say that people of the same gender as you are attractive without being bi, gay, lesbian. What kind of trans are you? I've been asked this. I feel like it normally means, are you a trans man or a trans woman? That's always the intention behind that question when I've been asked it. It's like, yeah, but which way? What trans are you? What generation? It's like, we're not Pokemon. She, he, it. Oh God. What does it matter? It's so confusing. I'm just not going to say a pronoun. You know who I'm talking about. It's like the one step up from misgendering. They've gone like, I don't want to misgender somebody. I don't want to be seen as rude and transphobic. But at the same time, I cannot be bothered to put an ounce of effort into this, so just not going to use any pronouns. I mean, it's literally like a millimetre better than misgendering somebody. No, a bit more than a millimetre. That was very mean of me. A centimetre. It is better because misgendering is harmful, but this is just lacking in effort and respect. I did a lot of weird stuff when I was younger too. Good for you. Yes. Yes. Are you more than one person now? Is that in response to they, them pronouns? Like, oh, does that mean you're like two, at least two people if you're using they, them? I mean, they, them is singular and plural, so no. Well, that is the trend now, isn't it? Isn't it the trend? Yes. I did this to be trendy. I want the discrimination and the hate and the surgery. I want it all just to be trendy. It's all I've ever wanted in life, to follow the trend. Nobody is transitioning and being trans to be trendy. Nobody's being LGBT plus to be trendy. No. And that's it for the second installment of well-meaning cis hets trying not to be transphobic. I don't know what I'm going to call this video yet. Yeah, I hope you like this. It's quite fun. I feel like it's all real things that have been said. I've definitely had many of those things said and or asked to me. Very awkward. Mostly online, thankfully, and I can just ignore it. But yeah, as always, if you like this video, think about giving it a thumbs up and subscribing, but no pressure. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Much love. Bye.